From advertising, branding, to design and experiences, how are we going to use AI to create the future that we want? Join us for breakfast. Thomas is the founder and CEO of Koffeecup. They're a company founded just over 10 years ago now, helping to support the experiential industry. They are also breaking into the more traditional and also more competitive space of games with their own title, Hoomanz, which will be launching on Steam first at the end of this year. They really work around their culture in the belief that it is people designing for people that matters. And I think you'll find a very interesting and different perspective from Thomas and how they choose to adopt AI across what it is that they do. Should be a really good episode. Nice to see you in LA. Thank you for dropping by. So we've known each other, I was thinking, is it like 15 years or something like that?
I think a bit less than that. Koffeecup is 15 years, so let's say
13?
Over 10 years.
Lucky number.
What was it called? Black Label.
Black Label, that's it. That was nice. I really like that. And we used a high frame camera to capture.
I still talk about people I still talk about it.
A phantom camera.
What I really liked is like bringing this sort of analog sprite into the animation. That was so beautiful. Yeah. There was like matches being lit, right? And
there was matches, there was petals, and something else. It was like an interactive wall.
Yeah, the rest was pure digital. I think the chocolate and the sort of veil and the fabric, that was...
Liquid chocolate is always...
It didn't work so well.
I'll put the video so people can watch it.
Just ignore the liquid chocolate.
Yeah. So basically, from what I understand, I was Googling you a little bit, and I hadn't realized. Yeah, so you left your career, you had a job in 2010, is that right? To start Koffeecup?
Yes. So I was a Flash developer. So that's where, everything started and ended.
It's funny how a lot of us were Flash.
I know.
Scripting, motion.
And I feel like our generation, there's a lot of creative that came from Flash.
You're right.
And it was a lovely way of mixing technical, creativity, visuals, everything, animation. I mean, everything came into one package that was easy enough for one person to master. You could go quite far, and I felt like at the end of it, it was a very advanced platform.
So, I mean, from the beginning, you had a taste for interactive and for games in particular, right? There's always, is that fair to say Koffeecup has a sort of a game vibe about it? It's an appetite that you guys have?
I think there's a fun part of it, which is really important. It's just like, we like the emotion when it comes to digital. And I think that's always been at the forefront of what we're doing. And I think being games or experience, they kind of behave the same way, where you're triggering, and if there's a brand or if there's another reason for you to interact, this is what you want. You want people to remember, you want people to come back to it.
Right.
Retention.
And it's even though they're little sprites and there's a human connection that's made with the digital asset. That's I always find that a little bit fascinating, actually. It's different to storytelling in film, the connection you make with characters. And I think we lived it, probably our generation, because I don't know if you felt something for Space Invaders, but then Mario's, Zelda, and then suddenly games, you could build a connective relationship with those characters.
I wanted to be friends with Sonic. I was more Sega. So Mario was with Sonic for sure. I had a real connection with it. And
it's even the hair a little bit.
And we've seen that now. Like because maybe I'm just jumping ahead of like this talk, but we literally about to release our first self-published, self-funded game, and seeing within Koffeecup like a very rough idea taking shape, evolving, changing, and now becoming becoming alive, like for real. Like now I look at this character, I look at the world that we created around it, and it feels real. It feels like it's always been there. And it's almost like your kids, right? You forgot when they were like young, or like they just where they are now. It's like you kind of like mix them together. It's like you're not sure when that happened, and it's like this is what's going on.
Right.
And I think not being so close to the project at all time, because my team did an incredible job at building this IP, it's even more striking. Where like, you know, you just for a few weeks or maybe a month, you're not going to get too close to a project. There's over fire, things happening, and you come back to it, and it's just like, wow,
Right.
this is getting better
Yeah.
and better.
It's interesting. Like I was reading a bit about the market that you're entering. There's
Yeah.
a couple interesting things. One of them is, I don't know if it's fair, and you tell me if I'm misrepresenting Hoomanz, but the cozy,
Cozy,
kind of
100%.
gameplay
Yeah.
is boom. And it's partly, I think, because they're realizing that there are other types of gamers. They maybe also more leaning female, that are finally well into the gaming
This is
world.
100% what we're going after with this.
It's very, very interesting. And it's, from what I was reading, it is currently an $18 billion market, and it's growing to a $15 billion market by 2029.
So we're going
which
live,
is-
like we're releasing officially in October. So
That's wild,
let's
isn't
hope
it?
we get a few.
Yeah. So, like, when you thought about this, were you craving this type of game, or was it a strategic move and you thought,
Oh, okay, that's a really good question. There's definitely different angles. One of them was to bring Koffeecup, bring more credibility to the studio. And I think this is part of why we chose console over than immersive. We've always
it's
done
console?
immersive. It's console.
I saw it's going on Steam, but it's
Yeah,
also,
Switch, Xbox, PC, Mac.
wow.
For now, and then we're going to look into hopefully PlayStation and mobile later on.
Wow, it's amazing.
And because we're known for immersive, we had our title. We've done our. Before us getting into the console market was the real deal, and really having the sort of street creds as a game studio, as
Yeah.
digital makers. And
Yeah.
That was quite important to us. And I love the Switch. To be
Right.
fair. Like I miss it.
Oh, it's so
I think it's just-
tactile, and like it's the way games
really
should
beautiful,
be.
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing I love about Nintendo, is they don't go for the arms race. I feel like in some ways they're a bit like, I've always felt a bit sort of the underdog, never had the big guns to do the big things. But so you have to think creatively, and you have to come up with something that's genuinely fun. You're not going to have the graphical horsepower, so you have to think about the gameplay mechanics a lot more, the game loops.
And this is where the industry is going anyway.
Yeah.
It's not about how many pixels you can push per frame. It's just about how fun it's going to be. And I always see the Switch as being a lot more immersive sometimes than even like, I know like when you say immersive, you always think about VR headsets, MR, etc. But I always feel like only playing the Switch, I almost actually missed my tube station a couple of times. Like,
Yeah.
and you are in the world. I mean, it's just incredible. It works.
So we spoke a little bit about how the cozy games, and you're making a play for that move. I've also noticed, because we're both parents, that kids are playing with their parents more. We are in this generation where we grew up with games, and so we're playing more with our kids perhaps than any other generation ever had.
That's true.
Do you think about this? Do you think as a parent how you create games? And
I mean, I think this is hilarious where like I felt like I had to beg for a game console when I was young. And now, well, I guess this is not exactly every parent's story, but being in the industry, I tend to buy the console before they even ask for it, before they even know it's coming out.
Yeah.
So I guess like, this is a strange relationship with the hardware for them, which is like, we have it, that's fine, we can play it.
Yeah.
And we have to play games. And even like further, because I feel like I am forcing myself to spend enough time playing to stay on top of what is happening and different trends and everything, being console or Roblox or Horizon, of course, or etc. Because again, there's some de-learning to be done from where we come from, right?
Yeah.
Not just talking about our kids, but how we've seen the sort of quality rising, and it was all about quality, which is a little bit the same with the movies, and the same that happened with the movie industry a little bit.
I think it's a generational thing. I remember my parents would push me towards the classics and books, and some of them I loved. But I would go to like the Stephen Kings and that kind of stuff, or the Asimovs. And then I noticed also my kids now, I'm pushing them a little bit towards movies also.
Oh yeah.
And a certain type of game that has, a polish, a great idea, a conceptual thing, and they're going for the Roblox games, the ones that are like, to me they seem ugly, the game mechanic is whack, but they're just addicted to it, and they just crave games that they seem unfinished. They love also the relationship that they have with the what's it called? Slipping now.
The community?
No, it's the community, but also the game developers.
The UGC, right?
Yeah, the UGC, and having something that has the developer in the mix, like Grow Garden,
of course,
and those types of games. It's really interesting how the dynamic has changed. It feels like they're attending something that loosely is a game, but it has more parts of like a festival with a host and fooling around with their friends. And
I think fooling around is quite important.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been spending a lot of time in Roblox and, City of Reinhardt and all those.
Yeah.
And I feel like the trolling aspect seems to be very important in terms of game mechanic.
Yeah.
If you can mess with people's progress, if you can literally just like smack the hell out of them, then that is quite entertaining, and it's something quite natural about it. Yeah.
It's almost a social thing than a game thing. Like
Absolutely.
you mentioned being on the train and playing with your Switch but I'm guessing you weren't playing connected to Wi-Fi or 5G.
It was Zelda.
It was one-on-one, solo.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many games my kids play, which are genuinely solo.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. It's almost like, I guess it's missing a level for them. They're like a computer without the internet, right? It's just like, what's the point? Like, it's just like, why is there no one talking to me? Why is there no one reacting to what I'm doing? And I think this is 100% half of the fun. And I love the freedom of it as well, and the less precious aspect of the environment, of the physics, of everything around you, and it gives you a sense of freedom that you'd never find anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because the fact that you can pretty much do whatever you want, stack stuff, and it might just completely overlap and break into each other, but it's fine, it's still working.
And it's platform agnostic, so you can be on your mobile, you can be in the cloud, you can be on the console, and they're all playing together. And it's that is an interesting also change, I think, that we didn't have. You would have the console, and you would be a Sega, or you would be a Nintendo or Amiga before.
For sure.
Whereas now it's not about that, it's these big communities, and it's changing. So we're seeing all this stuff, but at the same time, it's like, it feels like the game industry is hurting to some extent. Right? This is I think just this year, 35,000 layoffs. It's like big numbers. How do you explain that it's growing in marketplace? There's more money than there's ever been. It's dwarfing movies or any other kind of mediums, and yet it feels like the industry is hurting.
Yeah, I mean, the state of the industry is super interesting, but like I feel like the state of so many things right now. Like, we are being challenged on absolutely all levels. Like, we've seen it happening for the sort of marketing, because we both come from agency background, right?
Yeah.
One went over, and I feel like that happened almost like before the gaming industry, where like the big agencies like started suffering very quickly. The sort of post-COVID, where it just became a lot harder for them, and as like smaller, more specialized partner, it seemed that we were gaining a lot more traction, and like a lot of people just came to realize that, well, what were they offering? Like, was it actually? And I think this is going to a lot of things that we can discuss when it comes to AI. Is like, what is it that we're offering? As we are work for hire first, and then of course we have our IP. But I feel like as a business, we're offering the passion, the fun, the team together, the sort of glue of people that care about what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
So there's only so much you can scale that, right? So once you reach 2,000 or 3,000 people, it's just like the culture is just written down, and
it's a cog back to a big.
Yeah.
You start to look like your clients also a little bit. That's the issue. So I mean, how do you think about how the transformation is changing your industry? Is it? Do you feel like because you're small enough, nimble enough, and that you're diverse and you're offering enough, that you're sort of somewhat immune to it?
No, we're not immune at all. I think absolutely not. I think if anything, like, again, I felt like being the gaming or industry, like we've crossed quite a few trends like across the years, and I felt if anything, this is like this sort of how you're going to approach the future. Is like, are you ready to evolve as fast, or always referring to what you think is correct? And I think the gaming industry is definitely suffering from that, where we're still referring to older values, which pretty much what we're talking about Sega and Nintendo, they were like very sort of anchored into the way we think now, in terms of level of depth, level of mechanics, and etc., and complexity, where again you see game experience in Roblox with such a simple loop.
Yeah,
absolutely,
and I think
destroying everyone.
Yeah, and also, so they're easier to deploy, these games. They're harder to break through because there's so many of them. So there's a lot of luck also in the mix. But I sort of feel also AI isn't just changing the demand, but it's also changing the way the games are built.
Right.
Like there are AI NPCs, there's AI live ops that's developing. We're seeing so Google launching like AI.
But it's almost
platforms.
Like there's been since COVID, I feel like COVID is like the starting point of like our civilization not doing so well. But like there's been a timeline of events, and the attention span of like we started talking about doom scrolling, which I think is part of this conversation, because do you have time to sit in front of your Xbox, and if the onboarding is the game is already 3 hours of storyline? It's actually a very niche market, I believe, right now.
Yeah.
People want instant gratification, like you have on TikTok, like you have on Instagram, like you have everywhere else.
Yeah.
So just sort of like TikTok aspect of our life got into everywhere, right? And
short attention span, and
right. And it got into movies as well. I mean, now I just actually love going to the cinema just because I know I'm not going to pull my phone out of my pocket. And this is like,
you are or you're not?
I'm not.
You're not.
And I think this is
healthy.
Almost like why I go to the cinema. I know I'm going to respect the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We both started in the industry where it was flash. It was single point source, interactive, multimedia was coming in, video, interaction, gameplay on the web, Web 2, consoles, the graphics pushed up. And then I agree, I think the pandemic made us more insular and doubled down on the need for games and platforms that made us feel close to each other because we were isolated. Maybe it accelerated some of that. Going to see your doctor on Zoom felt bonkers before the pandemic, but people do it all the time, right? Parent-teacher conference on Zoom, that seems crazy. And so our kids who grew up in that generation, who will be, 5 to 10 years, the next big customer group, they're thinking about it in those terms.
They don't see the world like we do.
Yeah.
Like when you think that we have people working, I have people working with me in the studio that they've never seen the office. They started their career after COVID. They've always been working from home.
Yeah.
This is not shaping your brain in the same way that, us like saying like what it is to be in an office, grabbing a coffee, talking, going for a beer, whatever happened. Like the network is not the same. The way your brain is going to get wired is not the same. And you do have a section about that. For me, this has been really interesting and actually something that I'm very concerned about. And we've put a lot of effort to try to support our team that is fully remote, because I think there's a risk of drifting away from your network, what supports you, what matters to your mental health. And this is super important to support your team there. If you have someone in the middle of nowhere that works every day on their computer, and that's going to do pretty much the same thing in the evening, that the network is there.
And then they start to use AI tools to do a percentage of their word. And I'm worried that makes them more removed from the project
next step, right?
And a bit lazy. So you were talking about Hoomanz, how they're deep into the game and they're in love with it. But when there's a greater and greater percentage that's automated, and it's allowing you to be distracted.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Sorry, I thought you were, because I think for me the next step of being worried is just when AI becomes your friend and your network and discussion. Because like I find myself having conversations that are, and I have to remind myself I was using Bolt to do some vibe coding, and at some point I thought I was on Slack. discussing with a developer about the project, I had this sort of dissociation, like, I just had to remind myself, wait, hang on, like, you're just having a conversation with...
I mean, it's funny, I feel bad admitting to this, embarrassed, but I was driving back from San Diego, and, I called my wife, I called some friends, everybody was busy, couldn't talk, it's a long drive.
You did not.
I did.
Sorry, tell me about it.
I put ChatGPT. I haven't had a proper conversation with ChatGPT voice.
Okay.
I spent 45 minutes.
I don't think this is a magic, like a silver bullet, but I do try to always follow people I don't agree with. And if you were to look at my feed, you would think, oh my God, what a horrible person he is. And and I actually think this is healthy. I've always been more interested into the other side than people that think like me.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, that's great. We have the same opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to know what the other side thinks. Like, why they're so angry about something and what are the reasons.
So when you're designing games, experiences, digital content, are you mindful of the impact that you have, the mental health? Because, games in particular, you can use AI to create loops that we all know create more addictive style behaviors.
Yeah.
More reason to spend more, free to play, but then it's, other ways.
What a good question. I love this question because I would say the marking of success are going to be done on, retention, right? Yeah. So retention is a lovely sort of terminology for addiction, right?
Right.
It's a different package, but it's the same. So to be perfectly honest, we haven't put any sort of don't know how to put that. In a way, I wish we were at the level of success where we could start thinking that our games are so addictive that we need to put guardrails. We're not there in any way in terms of volume or what we're trying to do. But I think it's like everything. Like what you create is going to be a representation of yourself. So if the team is healthy in the way they do things, and I mean like mentally healthy, and the sort of the way they work together, I feel like the output is going to be a lot more exciting and interesting for the users without just doing like, sorry for Candy Crush out of like, but this is not what we do, right? We do, for us, we're not aiming for this type of game. We're aiming to create an environment, a world where you're going to feel that you want to stay in. And staying in doesn't have to be a bad thing. I think it's interesting that we started, our sort of public-facing experience in games with a well-being application.
Yeah.
And, bringing someone in an immersive environment when you think like, okay, now we're going to start meditating. We're going to bring you closer to yourself while everything around you being
I loved it. I thought it was beautiful, and I was happy to spend time in there. I'm curious to understand. Can you remind us the name? Maloka, thank you. What did you learn from building this platform? Because it almost goes against the principles of
100%.
Addictive behaviors, right? It's stimuli. It's a small narrow game loop. You do something. But meditation in a game environment is almost like diametrically opposed. So is it like, what did you learn from creating games that are healthy?
Just going back a little bit, when we first started working on it, and my first reaction then was, and mental health has always been really important to me, like for quite a few years. So for me, meditation was about bringing myself back into the real world. If I have a problem with mental health, it's because my brain is going to be shifting into my own world, and I get disconnected from reality, my network, etc. So helping people by just putting them in a virtual environment felt completely counterproductive. And while understanding the founder, their approach, etc., starting to put this world together, and it became actually quite obvious that there was something there that was super interesting, and that was not going to be a contradiction with the fact that you want it to be closer to yourself, and you could do that in a virtual environment if that makes any sense. And which
it's a bit like being in the movies, like you said, right?
Right.
That's the first baseline. I don't have my phone. I'm undistracted. You've got my undivided attention. So that's the beauty of VR, I guess.
That's true, because watching a movie can be very mindful, right? So you could be in VR and be very mindful. And I think this is the mindfulness they can find in every step of the way. I mean, I was like, when you think like mindfulness can be in doing the dishes, and this is where it's those little boring moments. This is where it really is important. Right?
Oh, I have this big thing on, having a bit of controlled procrastination is so important, especially for children.
Yeah.
Like we had, as kids, so much procrastination, so many long hours with nothing to do.
Yeah.
But that little piece of paper, that little thing becomes a world.
I know.
And we're sort of sometimes robbing them of that, I feel. And so just to go back a little bit on what you were saying with the meditation and the characters, have you experimented with AI NPCs in games? Where are you with that then?
Well, we've experimented a lot on not just AI, but how to bring. I mean, I think for me, when it comes to immersive, mixed reality is really something that, I feel like we've barely scratched the surface. And so already bring an NPC in your environment and having the ability to discuss or interact with them is already mind-blowing, right? So if you add the fact that, NPC and AI it's just such a,
it's such a powerful thing.
You just open the gate. We could talk about it for hours. I love it. I mean, we've had this little hackathon in the studio where just wanted to make sure, the team was could explore everything that's possible in AI, so more like vibe coding and 3D generation, 3D mesh, etc. So the idea was just to create a virtual studio. So basically Koffeecup offices. And we started thinking, it's why don't we have NPC that are us? It's just that could be I don't know, whatever people would say about me, but it could be he's the guy that's going to be forgetting everything. And can you give me a French accent? It's going to be a little bit, annoyed. But still happy.
Yeah.
Maybe annoyed. And I thought that was such a cool thing because we could start actually lining up our character trait and then building an NPC that would look and behave like us. That would be sitting in our desk that you could come and interact with.
Right.
Wow, this is it's so much fun.
It is. It's amazing. And actually, I was just in Hawaii for a project, and I called my hotel, and the hotel had an AI NPC answering the phone.
Okay.
And it's not an answering machine message.
Sure.
It's not a waiting for a keyword. It's a conversationalist. That made a big difference. And you can, and this is version 1, but you can really imagine these AI NPCs living the character and then remembering the interactions they've had with you. And then over time, you build a rapport. And one of the things I was wondering is, I think there's another interesting dynamic here, because on the one hand, you can create a meditative game where you go back to see your virtual character guru that gets to know you, that knows the things that you're struggling with and guides you and makes you feel better. The flip side...
Well, talking about addiction, this is super dangerous, right? Because
you have to hope on the other side there's a responsible publisher, right? Because you could create a game and at some point...
It's talking about addiction.
The kids may find it easier to go talk to their game character than their parents.
They will, because it's going to be a lot more compassion. You would never have the same compassion than an AI bot, right?
Or patience, or time, or headspace.
Exactly. That can be a headspace and time available at any time of the day, regardless of what happened during the day. Or no human being. It's not just your parents, it's your partner, it's your everyone around you.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to compare.
So how do you navigate all this? When you plot a vision for Koffeecup and the types of games that you do, is it, how do you toe the line between commercial success, new tools, new technologies, and at the same time doing something that you wouldn't want your kids to be addicted to? Or how do you
the good thing, I genuinely think there's nothing that came out of the studio that I wouldn't like my kids to play. So that's really a good thing. And again, I think it comes from the team. If you work with people that have some ethical value and and I'm not talking about political side here. I'm just talking about literally good people, and you can be from either side. I do believe that.
Yeah.
There's so much that we're gonna have to reinvent, right? There's been like working from home, etc. But I think the way you look at your team and the way people work together is the key to what's going to come out of it, and it's gonna get more and more challenged because now AI is gonna be taking over like junior and places and like. So sorry, I know I'm like moving around with this subject, but I felt like the center point is like the team that's going to be building it. The original culture is going to help making sure we protect that. And after that, I think there's common sense, right? I mean, we're not going to just be going after anything that we think is unhealthy. But maybe the choices are bigger now, but I feel like we've always had those choices, right? We always wanted to do stuff that excites us because I think that's important that the studio cares so much about what comes out of it. We want to be proud of what we do,
right?
Not the volume of revenues.
Yeah.
Like what comes out, like what it looks and how it engage and what it can give you. Yeah, that's what we care about.
Yeah. Do you find that, like you guys do a lot in VR, and obviously not just singling out the big brands, but there is a lot of practice in immersive and VR around consent around data, because the internet, mostly because of GDPR, went through a lot of ringers to get to the place now where you have to tell me if you're going to collect my cookies. But in a headset or in the XR glasses, what I'm looking at, when I'm looking at it, anything from like my voice and how it sounds, there's a lot more data, my heart rate, there's so much more data that it's going to start to collect.
But that's going to be the same story than the internet before GDPR, which to be fair, GDPR hasn't protected us
that
really,
much.
A little bit, but not that much. It's just like before people understand what's actually going on is going to be the Wild West, which is what's happening now. And imagine the level of information. And I mean, if you start and bring everything together from what you can see through cameras that you carry to all the conversation that you have with your AI friends.
Yeah. So what kind of data do you collect on games and platforms? What's a good best practice, would you say?
Okay. So data has been super interesting for us, and because first of all, we're not collecting, we're not selling the data from our games. Like we don't really have. If you think about Hoomanz, there's no free-to-play aspect of it where we're going to bring you advertising and sort of tailored advertising. So I think for us the most important thing with data, and data has been at the forefront of what we're doing. We have our team that started now a year and a half, 2 years ago, that has been absolutely incredible and has changed how the business has seen data. We have our own platform, Coffee Data, that is helping us gather everything and have all our dashboard. But what's important is just to give the best experience possible through heat map, funnel, everything, and you know exactly where people are struggling, what they're doing well. If you see someone blocking on the same collectible for and this is the data you want, because this data is just here to help you make the best product.
Right.
And you need this data on a complex game where people can move around and interact with different things, and you can have as much queue as you want, but I do think this is the data. And either like the worldwide data, I mean the live data, or UXR, that's really going to bring this knowledge of how your game is going to be perceived, right?
Yeah. Is there any tech, to close this section, is there any tech or data or practices that currently you draw a red line on?
Like we have literally no
red line.
No red line. We take everything. No, I feel like we're the wrong studio for that, to have this conversation. If we were, if you were talking to Roblox, then that'd be completely different. But for us, we don't care who you are. Like, we don't care. Like, there's data that we need to to have some sort of basic understanding of who you are, to align on demographics, to see who we're trying to please in a way. To make, again, our game more appealing. But this is not a way of gathering and reselling or just completely twisting the story. Like, I feel like I won't say we're the good guys, but you know, like everyone.
So you wouldn't sell the data, for example?
We wouldn't. There's no point doing it, and you know, this is not something that we're interested in. Like,
and so, what about using these tools? Because obviously, you guys over the years, I mean, you have some very talented illustrators and artists. What do you tell them, and what's the relationship between you, them, and this new AI tools?
Well, there's so much to talk about around that. I think for us, I think it's more like how you look at AI to start with and what it brings into, and my God, this is such a big subject, but for the actual workflow, we are still like, I was thinking about it before coming here, and I almost felt like at some point we're gonna have like a label, you know, you buy food that is organic or
human made.
Yeah, right?
Made by Hoomanz.
Exactly. So we actually try to be very conscious, and I must say that I've picked up a few decks like coming out, and it's just like, no guys, like this, what is this?
Right.
Like, well, we didn't have time. We just like, no.
Yeah.
I felt there's a level of quality and that we...
it's getting better though.
No, I agree.
I agree.
So,
the quality bar is easy, right?
The quality
you
bar
just go,
is
this
easy.
is shit. You know, it's got to be good quality. But there's a point where it's catching up.
No, you're right.
And so, do you have a point of view when it gets there, which might be 6 months?
No, it's there. We are using it.
Oh, so how are you using
100% we're using it. We're using it to start with. We're using it to finish things. We're using it in the middle.
Yeah.
But it's being used by the amazing people that we have that are concept artists and that can leverage that. And I think this is what's going to happen. Is just like they can do a lot more with what they have now as tools, rather than just being completely challenged with like, oh, this is replacing my job. It won't, because we don't want you to be replaced. Like, we want you as a human creator or to do some incredible content and to understand what's happening and just to...
But what was their reaction to it, right? Because I think
it's difficult. And to be fair,
there are some roles that I struggle to think we will have these full-time roles again.
I mean, of course, but that's going to be changing everyone at every level. This is crazy, but there's so much, I'm more thinking about the creative output, and I'm trying to find a good way of answering. And maybe what I'm trying to say is like, I wish we had one role for everything. We don't, and maybe it comes from the fact that it's evolving so fast, and we went from don't put index because it looks very AI to like, right now it looks pretty good. So you know, if it's good enough, then that's fine, because if the quality is there, then we can definitely have it. We can have it in final output if the style follows what we have. And again, it's like when people are talking about, you know, assisting human, I think at the moment this is where we are, which is super interesting because it's making us more powerful. And I think that's what we're saying, right? It's making us faster. You can try 100 styles, like literally within a few seconds, and you can choose the one you want, and you can extend on that and do that. If you're not an artist, you're not going to do that. Like, you can't ask someone that's not an artist to do that.
Right.
The starting point might be one of the sketches. This is what I mean. It's so organic at the moment. We're trying to shape, and I don't think we have one workflow that is sort of that we have either rolled out or just made it mandatory for how we're doing it. It's just we're trying to open to a lot of different tools and just see like how the tools have evolved. I mean,
so you're really leaning into it.
Are you still opening Midjourney, for instance? Like, since ChatGPT has absolutely destroyed Midjourney at some point, right? For me,
I mean, I'm going back to like Gemini and VO is incredible.
But you keep changing your workflow, right? Like, and I feel like you're trying to be agile and like...
True, I think it's partly based on like the tool sets, the model, how it's being trained. Like if the UI is really difficult to use and it's creating a friction point, even if the model is 5-10% better, I won't commit long enough. You know what I mean? It's like I think the user interface is important. We're still at
that's going to be the future.
We're still at the MS-DOS portion of AI. You know what I mean? It's like we're still prompting. We're still.
I do think there's going to be a handful of really big players. They're going to have like super powerful LLM, and then it's going to be like layers of things added to it. It's like, but you'd just be tapping into those powerhouse of like calculation and data and everything. But the next sort of business models are going to be sitting on top of them. Like, there's no point like
competing. So have you heard of the dead internet?
I did not.
No.
And I feel like I should have now. Like.
Yeah. So so the dead internet is based on a paper that's, I think, about 10 years old, and it discussed the possibility of the internet becoming so artificial and AI generated that we lose a connection to it. It just becomes not useful.
Yeah.
So, I think maybe about 8 or 10 years ago, I had a very good friend from France who was a journalist for one of the big groups, and he was pushing very hard to become an editor and to have a few writers reporting to him. And he moved to Singapore. He did a lot of sacrifices to get that role. And finally they said, we think you're ready. Here's your editor title and here's the role. And he was so excited. He said, when do I meet my team? And there was a young person in the room, and that was the only person. He said, I thought I had 5 writers. You do. You've got Janet or Jill. The 4 others are completely AI. And they have a readership, and they have a name, and they have a tone of voice. And they respond to comments under their articles in the feeds. And this is a major publishing company, mostly in B2B publishing. But still, that was a real moment where he realized, and particularly in a world where, a lot of what you do in some publications is call people, do some secondary research, have a point of view and amalgamate it into a story that you can A/B test quickly to figure out which one gets the most traction and then stick to the one that gets the most traction. That's what the internet did.
Freaks me out the most is like this article that was not written by a human, it's not even going to be read by a human because your news aggregation app is going to do an AI summary of whatever this article is about.
Yeah.
So we literally have bots talking to each other. We're just like, here's one really rough, couple of facts. Turn it into a beautiful article that no one's going to read. We analyze it, summarize it, and back to this handful of facts. And this is going to be this, because that's how we're going to be talking. And we're already talking to each other like that. Write me a very long email about something. It's just like, tell him that, boom. And on the other side, your app is already summarizing this email. Yeah,
it'll be just-in-time information on my terms. If I want to,
but we have I think the risk full is interface that is just not even being used, or that is going to be less and less used, and it's pretty scary.
And so that impacts social media, video content, everything, right?
The language, how we communicate with each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
so already today, there is the claim that's being made. And there's multiple sources, but that roughly half of the internet already is AI generated or artificially generated. So you're cycling on your social media feed or you're reading an article.
But the thing is, when you say the internet, it's already I feel like you want to restrict it to something. It's everything, right? All the content is it could be printed, it's going to be the same because your magazine, even if it's
when was the last time you pulled out a magazine? I mean, unless I'm at the dentist and I pull a magazine from 2002, Horse and Carriage or something.
I did buy a motorbike magazine the other
day. Did you?
Yeah, I liked it.
Once in a while at the airport, like a
But that's it was an event.
Yeah.
It was something I talked about. It was hey, I bought a magazine.
Right. But I mean, even those magazines, especially the car magazines now.
But they just completely printed out from the anyway.
Yeah, but they put also AI pictures in there about vehicles that they predict might come out. So I know I'm reading something, and also the margins is so low now on publishing that the temptation to just have it AI generated is incredibly high.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, what's interesting is at the same time with this dead internet theory is that the models are going to run out of data to train it on, because if on one side you've got data,
which is such an interesting conversation, right? How do you train a model?
Because it means that stuff that's experiential in nature will have more value than things that are content in nature. So what the conversations that kids have on Roblox, the concert or festival that you went to, or even what the New York Times wrote about something, is going to have a higher value in terms of AI search engine optimization over blogs, over social media posts. So there might be a flip, and actually what we do might become more valuable to the algorithm because they know it's coming from people.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not answering exactly, but I feel for me, AI is really when I started like thinking about it properly, I felt like rather than, I mean, once you pass the fact that, okay, is he intelligent, whatever, it's just like, is it going to be the next thing? It's like, yeah, it's, you know, it's there.
Yeah.
But I think it's challenging who we are and how we think, and it's putting us back to, as human being, I think it's just not being as important and as original and as important as we thought we were. I think this is the big takeout of that. It's just like, well, AI can do that, and what does AI do? It just picks up like all this information, collect them, and put them into something that is going to be generated for this specific opportunity or this specific brief. And it's pretty much what you do all day long. It's just like you have this set of information that comes from your, you know, early days to education, to whatever happened to you or whatever happened during the days, and that's going to be dictating how you, is the theory of free choice. And it's just like, actually, are we really bringing a lot more to the table? I think when we start saying it's like, okay, is AI actually just, you know, we need humans everywhere and like to create new content? It's like, well, maybe we're going to figure out that most of us are not creating any content that is original that you can train AI on.
Yeah.
Very few of us. Like, if you think about, I always think about legal.
Well, the lived
legal
experience.
The legal industry, right? How much you pay, like, like how much you pay the lawyers. And like, I feel like if you run a studio, you know, like how expensive they are.
Yeah, yeah.
And quite often, like, this is a lot of knowledge being aggregated according to like different things, but it's a lot of like, okay, let me put a contract together with different blocks, different things, etc. And you can see now AI like having this sort of open templates and according to different things, and all those agents working exactly in the same way.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's, if it wasn't for the bar,
that's changing the value.
Or if it wasn't for a medical diploma, there's no reason why AI couldn't take over.
Exactly, because really quickly, and the medical industry is going to be the same, it's like, what actually would you trust an AI bot that has access to absolutely all the data in the world to someone that's seen 10 years and of whatever the human brain can capture? And it's actually very little.
Yeah. So like to close all this conversation, right? We spoke a bit about the games and your view about what a great game is. You know, it's done ethically. It's a game that you would be happy for your kids to play. Yes, there's data. Yes, there are game loops. But what the beauty of building a team over handing it over to an AI is that it keeps that ethical line. And AI may want to go for the shortcuts. If you give the AI, make the most addictive, profitable game ever made, it might start to do practices that are
but you can ask a human to do that, and they would do it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, you're making the point that no, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when
you think now, like where you're at in your career and where Koffeecup is, what do you tell your past self who's coming into the marketplace now, like a 20-year-old Thomas, who's breaking into the creative industry? Flash doesn't exist anymore. Where do they go? Where should they put their energies now? What are the first steps that they should make?
The thing is, as well, is just like, imagine breaking into the industry right now. I think this is what worries me the most into this new revolution and how the world is evolving and changing. I'm glad I'm not a junior right now. This is the worst time to be a junior because no one is junior. Like, this is how we're going to be training, you know, people with like boring tasks, doing them again, and like just so they can learn and step up and everything. All you need at the moment, which is super sad, is like, we need senior, clever people that are going to be moving the needle.
Is that what you need?
I feel like at the moment, like for us, the problem is like, I think this is what AI is bringing to the team, is taking away the boring task. There's a lot of that. Some of the volume. And for sure, it's not everything, but at least this is where you would have had juniors, right?
True. But at the same time, if you define what a senior is, aside from management skills and having seen stuff, it's access to knowledge and information, right? It's being able to shape a process. There's a lot of stuff that makes a senior creative, an artist, know when something is good versus bad.
But there's a
having good
maturity,
taste.
Right? You need a little bit of time in this equation, right? You can't just like throw all the knowledge at.
Well, if you've got time on one side and you've got experience, and then you've got data on the other side. Like I'm playing a bit devil's advocate, but if I was a young person again, there's a piece of me that would say, well, the only difference is, we started as junior developers, maybe resizing images or something at the very, very beginning. Whereas now you're kind of starting as a creative director with a team.
Yeah, I mean, you
don't need to illustrate. You have an illustrator.
I feel like what we've been through, no one is going to go through it again. This is it. This is history, and it's really boring history. It's the same thing that the way we're making movies, before the digital revolution, you need absolute millions, you needed so many people, you need so much stuff. And now, well, if you want to be someone, you can, like you say, you have the team at your fingertips, right? You want to create.
So everybody starts as a creative director now.
Yeah, anyone can be anyone, and that's super interesting, right? Because all the tools are there. It's the same problem that we've had, or same problem, or maybe good things if you do well. It's like when the internet started, it's like, oh my God, we've got all this knowledge. Are we doing anything good about it?
I mean, I'll give you an example.
So it's pretty scary for kids, they have all those powers, like all those things.
But they need to have taste, right? That's you can't give taste to AI.
No.
You need to have a sense for something that makes you laugh as a human, maybe something that is, that's going to make you cry, or something that's going to capture your imagination. Those are things that I think even a young person can sense, maybe even better. It's harder for us to do something for. Try making a game for a 17-year-old today. It's much more difficult for people from our age group than maybe another 17-year-old.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the cool thing.
I mean, the guys who did Grow Garden and who did what's the one with the memes? I mean, those games are like, they're all 19, they're
still brain rot,
young guys. Yeah, brain rot. So I don't know, on one hand, I think maybe we're the last generation to have sort of earned our stripes in some respects. Maybe you don't need to anymore. You just need to have the confidence to do something with it. Like I built an AI automation workflow. So one of my dreams is to have an agentic health coach. Mm-hmm. So it looks at all my data, it looks at my calendar, and then it recommends what to eat and what to work out when within my calendar, so that I stick to my plans, and then track me and feedback to me.
Okay.
So I built a workflow.
It's making me anxious.
You think it's hopeless? No, but I built most of the workflow automation in A10, and there was some bits that I could do a little bit of Java. I started in Java and action scripting. Some bits I couldn't anymore, and I used vibe coding, and it worked. It's probably it's not the cleanest code I've ever seen, and it's probably not as efficient as it could be.
But it's there.
But it's there, and it works. And I didn't have to contact the developer. I didn't have to do all this stuff. And I think if you have an appetite and curiosity and the desire, to do something, I think
everything is
everything is a lot more there than it's ever been.
There is.
Do you remember those books for dummies?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had action scripting for dummies.
Of course.
HTML5 for dummies. JavaScript for dummies.
I want to remember what director was.
I read them. Macromedia director. Lingo for dummies. And I had it under my desk, trying to read it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of gone, and the interesting thing is going to be, does everybody have great taste, and do we need as many people? Like, that's an interesting.
Well, it's not it's not just interesting. I think it's going to be an incredible challenge, and I don't think maybe the sort of junior discussion is just scratching the surface, because you can't just rely on people that are going to have one incredible idea that's going to be making this specific individual lots of cash.
Yeah.
What happened to all the others, because the Roblox story is quite like that, right?
Until we have AGI and it starts to do games that it knows we will love.
Yeah, because when you have one game that makes so much money with no team compared to a full studio with hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah, have you thought about
and everything, and it's just
the cost of Grow Garden versus the cost
you don't
of
ever want to
Hoomanz?
think about it. It's just. But
for what it's worth, I think
is beautiful.
Let's look at both. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's and also the idea of the little fox, and the duality, day and the duality. I think that's
really
a beautiful concept. Really, really nice.
And all the cutscenes were made by human.
Really?
Yeah.
In Flash?
100%. I wish actually Jamie was very Jimmy was very involved with that, which is super interesting. Like, if you remember at the beginning, like the designer I was working with when I was making the Sledge game, all the cutscenes, everything is just super like nicely handcrafted, and again, there's a lot of love to put into that, and there's a nice contrast between moving super fast as well, which is maybe the comparison we can make between what we're doing here and one day is like here to be hitting the point,
fast food,
bring some cash, and
versus
a little bit,
haute cuisine, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I would like
maybe
to
that's
say
the way
like
to
that.
look at it. Yeah,
a few Michelin stars.
Yeah, exactly.
But looking at how the world is evolving, I think there's a space for both. Everything is going to get challenged. We have spent a huge amount of time on Hoomanz, crafting, animation, all the way to this. I really like that our audio engineer Axel, as like he had the super cool idea of like recording all the scream during one of our retreats. So every year we take everyone together for a few days just to make sure, we do get to know each other, and we try not to bore people with too many meetings. There's like only a few hours and that's it. The rest is just hanging out. And we set up a little recording studio where like everyone could yell and like basically be a little Hoomanz when they get kicked out of the forest and start like flying out. So every single one of them is actually one of us, and they have
That's
very
smart.
different sound. And I think this is the difference. I do think like at the beginning of this conversation, you were telling me about the project we got to know each other when you were the creative director on the Black Label, where like every single asset came from this high frame rate camera, and there was this analog feel just to this day I think about and I want to bring back as much as I can, where like there was the best of like digital versus analog. They were completely controlled, completely dynamic, iconic feel. It was based on your gesture, but yet you had this feel, and you can't like. There's something about it.
Oh, for
there's
sure.
a vibration there. There's something that is super interesting.
Yeah, something that's interesting about Roblox, though, I think one of the big differences is, although you hear about these rockstar developers who really make it, there's for every one of them, there's like millions and millions who
I think
produce a little game that no one sees.
Rockstar, we're going to start thinking about like that is a very unique story from now on.
Well, I mean, the next game, what they seem to be saying is that there might be some kind of transactions, you might be able to buy property, there might be all sorts of things in there. But no, the thing that's
But then it becomes UGC, right? Which is, we know this is where like, it's clearly like...
No, but the thing I like about Roblox, even though it's ugly, is that you're kind of building it in with your audience. You start with the alpha build, and then you collect their feedback. Minecraft did that, but Minecraft had a blog, and you could read the comments from people about how the mining should and the crafting tables. It was like a co-created with the public. But Roblox is kind of, you can see the players in the platform right from the onset. And it's a very different way to the games that sort of you make, which are more insular.
Imagine GTA with full freedom, and like if you think about all the modding that we saw over the years of like, I feel like if they do open the gate to full UGC on such a high-end platform, there's something there though that is going to be exciting and interesting, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is the beauty of everything we're discussing. I feel like it's just we get challenged literally every week by something new. And this is incredible. Like, I wish I could tell you exactly how we want to approach AI, how we want to do that. No, what we try to do is stay young and stay like aware of what's happening and be ready to react and adapt, because I think this is one of the most important criteria right now.
Yeah.
There is no like right path forward.
Do you think you might be doing something on one of the other platforms someday?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm not, I mean, look, we do a huge amount of work on Horizon World. So UGC is part of like our everyday life. We love it. I mean, it's something absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So who knows?
Who knows?
Cool. Absolutely. And in the meantime, so when is Hoomanz coming out?
Mid-October.
Mid-October.
I don't have a very precise date, but I'm sure we can have it on your...
Any first platforms that is it going to be Steam first and then the others?
Steam first.
Okay.
100%.
And so you're in QA right now?
We are in QA. We have the only one that is still heavily in QA is the switch. We're just finalizing a few little quirks. There's a few shadows that are misbehaving.
Okay.
But the rest is good
Cool.
to go. We just need to press the button. So.
Fantastic. Yeah. And then hopefully you can share with me a lot of these assets and things, and
course.
we can put them on the podcast and people can watch them.
We can have a shoe here. Look.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be
Something
amazing.
on the table.
Amazing. Mate, thank you so much. That was an
Thank you,
amazing chat.
It was
Yeah.
super nice.